Hey everyone, my name is Kendall Donald, and today I'll be presenting my research proposal titled The Relationship Between Psychopathic Traits, Childhood Trauma, and Aggressive Behaviors in Undergrad Students. This project explores a question that I feel is very important in psychology, which is why do some young adults show more aggressive and rule breaking behaviors than others? And how might their early experiences, as well as their personality traits, explain that? So let's go ahead and dive in. These are just the things that I'll be going over. These are also what I'll be going over. And we'll start off with my introduction, which is my background slash literature. So, first, some background. Psychopathic traits are things like low empathy, impulsivity, and manipulativeness. And they're often measured by using tools like the LSRP scale, which has strong reliability according to Newman and Paradini back in 2015. Childhood trauma refers to experiences such as abuse or neglect, and one of the most widely used tools for assessing this was the CTQ, which is also known as the Childhood Trauma Questionnaire, and it was validated by Glassmere also back in 2015. Aggressive and rule breaking behavior are often examined through frequency based behavior checklists, and research consistently shows that both psychopathic traits, along with childhood trauma, are linked to aggression. But most studies that are out there already don't focus on college students, they just focus on adolescents or clinical patients, and we need things for undergrad students like us. Next, I will be talking about my research problem. So, my first point was limited research on combined effects of psychopathy and trauma on aggression in undergrads or undergraduates. The main issue is that we don't have a lot of studies that look at psychopathic traits, trauma, and aggression together as one in undergrads. These factors have been shown independently or individually, either one, to influence this type of behavior, but not all in one study. My second point was understanding these relationships can inform prevention slash intervention strategies. During this time, us as college students were transitioning into adulthood. We're gaining independence. We're managing stress, whether that be school and work, um, school and family issues, or all three. And we're also forming our identities, which all interact with personality traits or even earlier life experiences. And my third point, which was my focus, which is how personality and early experiences influence young adult behavior. And I feel that understanding these relationships better, we could um, help campuses identify students who may be at higher risk or even at risk at all for aggression and could possibly develop, as I said in point three, prevention and intervention strategies early before it gets too late or before it becomes too late. Next, we'll be talking about my hypotheses. So I developed three hypotheses based on prior research. First, I expect that students with higher psychopathic traits will show higher levels of aggression and or rule-breaking behavior, and this aligns with findings from Newman and Paradini in 2015, which showed that psychopathic traits relate to antisocial tendencies. My second hypothesis is that I expect students who report more childhood trauma, which is measured by the Childhood Trauma Questionnaire, CTQ, will also show higher conduct problems. Um, Prior work was done by Glassmere, also back in 2015, which supports this connection as well. My third hypothesis is that I expect that psychopathic traits will predict aggression even after accounting for trauma and earlier conduct problems, which means personality traits do still play a meaningful role in this process. Next, I will be talking about my participants. For this study, I plan to recruit about 80 to 120 undergrad students between the ages 17 and 23. Most participants at Xavier do tend to be women, So I expect about 70% female, 25% male, and a small percentage of non binary, 5%. Um, Xavier has predominantly African Americans, so in the student population, so most participants will likely fall under that demographic as well. And recruitment will be through SONA, psychology classes, and campus flyers. Next, I will be talking about my materials and measures. To measure my variables, I'll be using several validated tools from past research. The first one is the CTQ, which is the Childhood Trauma Questionnaire, and that measures physical abuse and emotional abuse as well, and neglect. And it has been supported as reliable in studies like Glassmere back in 2015. I will also be using the Modified Youth Conduct Checklist. This was done by Guerrero in 2016, and this assessed past conduct problems. I also will be using the Aggression and Rule Breaking Behavior Scale. This was done by Miller in 2017, and this was he found strong reliability ranging from 0.80 to 0.90. And I will also be using the psychopathic traits, which will be measured by the LSRP, and this also demonstrated reliability between, I believe it was 0.80 and 0.84. This was done by Newman and Paradini back in 2015. And together, all of these measures allow for a strong, valid assessment for each construct. And also, this will also my research will also have my research proposal also has a consent form and a debriefing statement that's also in place as well. Next, I will be talking about my procedure. So, how it will run is the participants will read and agree to the informed consent form, explaining the purpose of the study, its voluntary nature, and any possible risks. After that, they'll complete the demographic questions, then the CTQ, then the conduct checklist, then the aggression scale, and then finally the LSRP. They will also receive a debriefing statement explaining my goals for my study and reminding them about available mental health resources on campus, which are located in St. Joe's on campus, and also reiterating that everything will be anonymous, no names or identifying information will be collected, and participants are able to withdraw at any point without any type of penalty. Next, we'll be talking about my data analysis plan. For the analysis, I will start with correlations to see how each variable relates to one another. So, for example, for this study, whether trauma scores will relate to aggression or psychopathy scores. And then I will use multiple regressions to test the main question, which is, do psychopathic traits still predict aggression even after accounting for the childhood trauma and conduct problems? This approach is consistent with methods that were done in the past. The Miller study from 2017, which measured the aggressions using similar analytic strategies like I will for mine. Next, we will be talking about my expected results slash implications based on prior findings like from Newman and Paradini, and also Glassmere. I expect that psychopathic traits will show a strong positive relationship with aggression. I also expect that childhood trauma will relate to higher conduct problems, which may carry into young adulthood. And if these predictions are supported, then the results could help universities understand risk factors for aggression and also develop better support strategies for at risk students, um, such as targeted counseling or even screening measures. Next, we'll be talking about my ethics and participant protections. Ethical considerations are extremely important for this type of study because participants will be talking about their childhood trauma and just their earlier life experiences. They will complete an informed consent form before starting, and like I said, it's also emphasized that this is completely voluntary. They can withdraw at any time without any type of consequences. All data will be anonymous. And because, like I said, this does talk about childhood trauma, a detailed debriefing statement will be provided along with campus counseling and services and a national helpline if need be. And these procedures follow standard ethical guidelines and um, research to protect the participants' well-being. In conclusion, just to wrap things up, this proposal explains and examines how psychopathic traits and childhood trauma relate to aggression in college students by understanding how personality and early experiences interact. We can contribute to better prevention, identification, and intervention strategies on college campuses like Xavier. Overall, I feel that this research aims to support students' well being, even while expanding our own knowledge of aggression during emergent adulthood, because we're all new to this. So I feel like this is very important to note. And then next, we'll be talking about my references and my resources. These are just the resources that I used throughout my presentation and my paper. All of the past measures that I found while doing research that correlate to my research proposal. This is what I put in here. And then also counseling and wellness center on campus in case anyone needs to talk to someone, a professional. So thank you for listening to my research proposal. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thank you so much.